The snowstorm changes his plans. Phil has to come back and spend the night in the town again. The next morning when he wakes up, it is Groundhog Day all over again. And he's stuck in this loop that goes day after day, where he's in this loop where he wakes up on February 2nd every day. It's not until Phil goes into the depths of darkness and despair, even making several attempts at suicide, that he sees that he is the only one that is in control of his destiny. He's the one that's in the way of his happiness and relationships that he can form. It's estimated that Phil spent over 8 years in this loop by some people. However, others, by the accomplishments that he made, he was a concert pianist. He was very fluent in French. He learned ice sculpting. With all these skills that he learned, people estimated it was 40 years that he was locked in this loop. That's a significant event, or a significant consequence. For millions of people in the United States, this happens every day. They wake up in the same chronic pain. Patients wake up in chronic pain every day. When they wake up, they know that their day today is going to begin just like it ended the day before, with pain, uncertainty, and anxiety. My personal interest in chronic pain stems from a misstep I took several years ago. In the blink of an eye, my life was transformed from one of a healthy, middle-aged man to one of pain and suffering. My accident left me searching deep in my psyche as to what I could do now and what I could accomplish, whatever I set my goals to be. How would I be able to do that now that my body did not function in the way that I was used to function? The fear that arrived with the pain also has its debilitating effects. Several emotions emerge when people have chronic pain or undergo a major transformation, especially if the transformation is unexpected and harsh. Anger, depression, anxiety are byproducts of the fear that this transformation has caused. Chronic pain is persistent, resistant, and insistent. It persists long past the time that it should have healed. It resists all efforts of treatment, and it insists on being recognized. Chronic pain has the capacity to literally control every aspect of one's life. The anger at having lost control over this life, are the circumstances that more often than not lead to anxiety and depression. For chronic pain sufferers, pain is always perceived on some level. Medical science is just beginning to understand the toxic effects of chronic pain. Many pain experts now believe that chronic pain has become a legitimate disease. Chronic pain is often misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, or even ignored. Persons tormented by chronic pain often have several other afflictions that accompany the pain. These issues include depression, anxiety, weight gain or weight loss, irritability, insomnia, acid reflux disease, intestinal or bowel disorders, and side effects from the pain medications take center stage in these people's lives. Development of new theories of chronic pain and its management and treatment are needed as research into chronic pain grows. When one has a catastrophic injury or illness that leaves them in incapacitating pain, the individual must find alternative means to negotiating through their everyday life. Like Phil in the film mentioned above, each day begins the same. People in debilitating chronic pain wake up in pain, and they go to bed in pain. Sleep is usually a fleeting luxury for those suffering with this condition. Each day, people in chronic pain must find things that exacerbate the condition, as well as find things that bring relief. Phil started out with a very negative attitude toward anything that did not serve Phil. It's during this period that he has calamity after calamity befall him. Perpetuating the behaviors has led him to deeper enmeshment in his own problems. It's only when Phil realizes the way that he's been treating everyone else and placing his desires above all else, that he finally begins to dissolve the force that has him trapped. People in debilitating chronic pain have a journey similar to Phil's. Chronic pain sufferers also have to go through a progression of misfortunes along their journey. Here too, one must form a roadmap of sorts to help them in search of relief from the sensation of chronic pain. What were once commonplace daily activities have become a test of what, if anything, can now be accomplished without causing the pain to spike. Washing dishes, sweeping and vacuuming the floor, cooking, washing clothes, yard work, playing with one's children or grandchildren are all activities that suffer because of this condition. In my study, I'm going to examine the extent of the limitations that people with debilitating chronic pain place upon themselves and the modes of healing that extend beyond the Western medical model. My study is going to focus on the daily lived experience of individuals with debilitating chronic pain, as well as the types of coping skills and mechanisms that they use. This inquiry will be conducted using a narrative method envisioned by the works of Lieblich, Tuval, Masai, and Ziegler. Data collection can take many forms in this tradition, such as story, field logs of investigators, letters, or personal interview. In my study, I'm going to use open-ended interviews with adults that have been afflicted with chronic pain for a minimum of 5 years. Debilitating, according to Mosby's Pocket Dictionary of Medicine, Nursing, and Allied Health, means pertaining to disease or injury that enfeebles, weakens, or otherwise disables a person. I will define chronic pain as a painful condition that registers at least a 5 on the 0 to 10 numerical pain scale and causes extreme interruption in activities of daily living. In this study, I will examine the daily lives of people living with debilitating pain. I believe that the painful conditions that many individuals experience are exacerbated by an inept medical system that treats only the symptoms and not the root cause of the discomfort. The prevailing method of treatment has been through pharmacology and physical therapy, with few alternative options available except for those with access to higher level medical facilities. The prevailing literature suggests that incorporating alternative healing modalities such as cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based stress reduction, and acceptance commitment therapies may enhance healing in individuals living with chronic pain. These emerging treatment modalities show great promise in alleviating some of the perceptions many individuals hold around their pain, and in reducing the intensity in many cases. However, finding access to these programs can be quite challenging for many, as they are not widely distributed or promoted. One of my goals is to educate both medical professionals and chronic pain sufferers as to the options available and making these options more accessible to people that are interested in pursuing them. My key concepts and terms. Pain can have many definitions, depending on the type of pain and the individual who's experiencing it. According to Mosby, pain is an unpleasant sensation caused by noxious stimulation of sensory nerve endings. Abraham Young and Wall espoused the International Pain Association's position that pain is an unpleasant sensory emotional experience associated with actual or potential damage, or described in terms of such damage. However, the new emerging definition of pain states that pain can be defined by whatever experience the individual is perceiving the pain says it is, and whenever they say they have it. So, pain is the body's warning mechanism that damage or potential damage to tissue is significant. Whatever the definition, pain does play a significant role in the life of an individual who must confront it on a daily basis. In chronic pain research, there have been several advances recently regarding the acceptance of pain as a beginning step in the healing process. Chronic pain is pain that has persisted long after the normal healing time should have passed. Chronic pain is pain that has persisted long after the normal healing time should have passed, normally 6 months or longer. As pain continues to persist in an individual's life, they must at some point realize that the pain is part of their permanent composition. As the numbers of people in pain continue to escalate at an alarming rate, we must find alternative means pain relief. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, the brainchild of John Kabat-Zinn of the University of Massachusetts, is one of these strategies used in the search for relief of painful conditions. Mindfulness is a way of learning to relate directly to whatever is happening in your life, a way of taking charge of your life, a way of doing something for yourself that no one else can do for you. Consciously and systematically working with your own stress, pain, illness, and the challenges and demands of everyday life. Acceptance, according to Behoff et al., is not so much about controlling the pain one has, but instead accepting it and becoming aware of the qualities and sensations associated with the pain. Acceptance and commitment therapy is also one of the emerging approaches in pursuit of pain relief. Behoff and associates state that ACT strategies strengthen an individual's arsenal of tools to live with chronic pain. With this approach, one learns to delve into the undesirable feelings, sentiments, and beliefs associated with their chronic condition. People living in debilitating pain must either find a means to live with the pain successfully or face a life of uncertainty and misery. By living with the pain successfully, I'm referring to finding ways to continue to live with the painful condition while engaging in activities that life has to offer. A person in constant pain has many obstacles to overcome in their quest for some quality of life. The pain takes control of their lives, leaving them with feelings of inadequacy, self-loathing, and depression. Debilitating pain controls every aspect, physical and mental, of an individual's life. The prospect of becoming something other than someone in pain is quite daunting. As the pain restricts the actions and thoughts of those embroiled, I agree. As the pain restricts the actions and thoughts of those embroiled in the unpleasant sensations, the sufferer retreats inward to hide from the painful stimuli that waits in the world outside of the person's comfort zone. When an individual in pain view the prospects of facing an ill-informed people and a world that is not accepting of people in pain, they usually find solace in being alone. Self-enmeshment in a chronic pain state is a measure of a person's self directly influenced by the chronic pain. Who they are now, who they may become, are factors which influence the actions and beliefs these people hold. Being in pain can be likened to like being in a personal prison. Every action and thought has consequences that must be weighed out before a decision to act is made. The thought of aggravating or prolonging the pain restricts what chronic pain patients attempt to do. Activities that were once commonplace and enjoyable are in most instances either cut out completely or scaled back so much that they no longer hold the same value that they once did. Unfortunately, many people become enmeshed in the pain and have a very difficult time unraveling themselves from the effects of the chronic pain. Morley states, self-pain enmeshment may be construed as a measure of a person's identity, the sense of who they are and what they might become, their possible selves. Identifying and employing healing modalities that provide relief are critical for individuals who live day after day with debilitating pain to have a better quality of life. The relevance of my study, chronic pain has reached epidemic proportions in the industrialized world. Pain is now the #1 symptom people are treated for in medical offices. With chronic pain becoming so pervasive and so little success in treating the pain, utilizing the Western medical model as the sole treatment modality, alternatives must be found to provide relief. Incorporating alternative modalities into the treatment plan has benefited many individuals, in addition to the ACT and MBSR healing touch, such as massage, Reiki, and chiropractic, as well as numerous somatic therapies, can and do have positive outcomes for many pain sufferers. The biggest hindrance to treating people in pain is the lack of education of both the medical professionals and the pain patients as to the number and efficacies of these promising modalities. I have found in my pain career for over 10 years that with the medications that I've taken, my pain never receded. and the whole time I was taking them, and at times it escalated. The narcotic medications I was prescribed dulled my cognition, but the pain never went away. I was just indifferent to it. I didn't care that I hurt. The quality of prescription medications, the quantity of prescription medications I was taking led to further complications, thus calling for even more medications to combat the side effects of the others. I was caught in an endless cycle of popping pills in order to combat the pain and the effects of that pain. I reached my climax with pharmacology in the late spring of 2004 when I became ill. Because of the sheer quantities and types of medication I was taking, I was hit particularly hard. I developed an infection, and with a compromised immune system, the toxicity in my body soon became too much, and I became septic. Sepsis is caused by the body fighting a blood-borne contagion and not having an immune system strong enough to fight it. After a near-death battle with this condition, I decided that I could no longer use the prescription medications. It was at this point in my life that I was introduced to the mindfulness-based stress reduction program, an alternative means of healing from a chronic condition that does not necessarily have to do with the elimination of symptoms of that condition. This study falls well within the East-West psychology core values, and that it pulls from Eastern as well as Western thought and practice. The integral model I am proposing here, the Western medical model, is unified with healing modalities generally considered not medically relevant in this tradition. This incorporation includes mind-body connections as well as healing touch and medical interventions when needed. As has been witnessed time and time again in chronic pain treatments, one modality does not work for every person. And in fact, the modality that works for a person today may have no effect tomorrow. Chronic pain is a complex and mysterious condition that requires a multitude of treatment options.
So I'm curious about this mindfulness treatment that you were receiving and how it didn't eliminate the symptoms but just your relationship with them, and how did that work for you exactly? Could you give me an example of how you experienced that?
Before I started practicing mindfulness and went to the program, everything was about my pain. My whole life was wrapped around my pain, because that's all I could see, that's all I could feel, that's all I could sense. When I went to the mindfulness program, I learned how to take my body as it is. I learned how to separate the pain from who I am as a person.
And that provided some other type of relief
Well,
for you, it sounds like.
My relief is in my head, it's not in my back. There are times when the pain, drives me so bad that I can't even think about anything. And those times will usually last several days to several weeks to several months. I've gone at one point 10 months where I had no relief whatsoever. And that was like within the last few months, the last couple of years, I should say. It comes and goes. So this is a learning process, and some days what you learned that helps today, it may not help you tomorrow. So it's just a learning process, a thing that you have to do, and you have to be mindful of who you are and where you're at all times. What your body is, what's going on inside your body.
So would you say that it's made you more fluid?
It has to have this. And it's also opened up my heart tremendously. I honestly believe that chronic pain for me is a spiritual pain. Before I had my injury, I was going down a path that I shouldn't have been going down. I was not happy. I was in a terrible relationship. And after my injury, it was like I died that person died the minute I stepped off of that edge of that pool. And 10 years later, this is what she got. Larry.
So I know muffins are a big part of your healing process, which are fantastic, but could you maybe take us through that process, like you're feeling this pain, and you know that maybe this is part of the mindful practices, that you sort of put all your love into a baking or some sort of art that you're working on, and how is that experience? And you said the pain's still there, but now you're working more with a different energy, like how, could you walk us through that a little bit? What happens when you, for example, bake muffins
Okay.
or
When I feel my pain starting to escalate, there's not a whole lot I can do, because I can't take the prescription medication, and I won't take it. I mean, people have been trying to get me to take it, the last couple of years, and it's like, no, it's not happening. I've been there, I've done that. So when I feel that start coming on, my body knows that if I don't do something to distract itself from the pain, then the pain is going to take center stage. My wife taught me about a year and a half ago how to bake muffins, or how to bake. And I took it from there, and I put my headphones on, I crank up the music as loud as I can possibly stand it, and I get in the kitchen and I just start creating things. And I forget about everything else that's going on except what I'm doing at that point. I also know that if I try to push myself in the wrong way, or if I'm not mindful while I'm doing this, then I can injure myself more by doing it. I think that I get so much pleasure out of creating something that brings so much pleasure to other people, that it just, the pain doesn't matter.
So it's kind of like this getting out of this self-centeredness. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like, it seems like the pain was everything, and then it expands.
Yeah, you have to let the ego go. I can't be. I was an aircraft mechanic and a motorcycle mechanic. I used to ride motorcycles all the time, and I did all kinds of things, and I don't do that anymore. I can't. So I have to find other things that make me happy, or just as happy as when I was doing it. Yes, Dave.
So just to kind of follow up on Larry's question. So at some point, I assume that you can't just keep baking. You've got to stop baking. You got to go to bed or something like that. But the positive value of that, pain reduction that has resulted from baking continues even though the baking stops.
Yeah, and the endorphins, because I got my headphones just blasted.
Right.
So the endorphins are kicked in from that as well. So I've got endorphins from the music, and I've also got the endorphins from the baking that's making me happy, and I've got all these good energies flowing through my body, and that counteracts the pain, and it carries over for quite a while.
For quite a while, that's great.
It does.
Cool.
Yes.
Has there, to your knowledge, has there been any, in terms of the course of your research, is there anything about like personality types and how different personality types deal with chronic pain, or personality, not even necessarily a type, but like certain personality characteristics? Do people that have certain characteristics, are they able to better deal with chronic pain than others, or even self-motivated behaviors or anything?
There's been just a tiny bit of research in that area, and what it points to right now is that people that are really sensitive carry their pain much differently than people that aren't as sensitive to, and they do have more pain generally than other people do. But it's just just a little bit of research that I found so far on that subject. There's a book Elaine Aron wrote. It's dealing with just that subject, the sensitive individuals in pain. And I'll get that information to you if you'd like, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Was the mindfulness program that you did, was that available through a hospital or through Spirit Rock? Or?
It was through a hospital in Tennessee.
Oh, in Tennessee. Okay.
Yeah, but the program was $150. most people that are in debilitating pain don't have an extra $150. So I mean, that's an issue as well. You know? A lot of these people don't have access to the programs. The programs aren't that widespread. So that's something that we really need to work on getting out there.
How long did it take?
The program's an 8-week program. I went through it twice. Once as a client and once as a co-facilitator. So.
How long did it take before you saw a benefit? I mean, could really tell.
A couple of years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's something you have to keep working with. It's a practice. I could see some benefit right away, but it was like up and down. It wasn't anything that I could measure. Some days it'd be good, you know, and I learned to do the practices and the breathing, and come back into my body.
So was it reading a book or something that got you there?
No, actually it was a class. It was a mindfulness-based stress reduction class.
But you must have found out about it somehow.
One of my professors told me about it.
Oh.
And actually it was after I stopped the prescription medications I was taking, I started smoking marijuana. In Tennessee it's not legal, but you know, it's either that or suffer worse than I was. And I told my department head about it, and we were discussing it, and she asked me if I had ever tried any mindfulness-based stress reduction or anything about it. I told her no. And the hospital was right across the street from the university, so I went to the hospital a few days later, and I met with the lady that's over the program. And we had a nice long discussion, and she thought I'd be a good fit, and it worked out well.
I assume you've read Full Catastrophe Living, right? You must have probably read it, so
Yeah.
Is that a very good book? I haven't read it.
It is a good book. Everything he's written is really good. So, it's like Thich Nhat Hanh. Everything he's written is really good as well. They've got definite strengths. And another, yes, Dixon.
Were you going to say something?
Yeah, another really good book is Wherever You Go, There You Are. That he's written.
I was just wondering if you feel comfortable addressing your work with your ancestors and whether that has had any relationship to pain relief in your body for you.
No. Actually, it's made it worse. And it's not my ancestors. It's my ancestors are talking to me. My family is like totally shattered. I have a brother and 4 sisters that just don't have any contact with. My mother, I talk to her several times a week now, but up until my dad died, I hardly ever spoke with her either. So my family is pretty much fine. But my father and my grandmother have been coming to me and telling me that I need to do something to try and get the family back together. And I tried a few days ago. My mother's got great-grandchildren she's never seen. So I'm trying to get that back together. They're just not interested. So.
Just send them some muffins.
So what? They're bakers, so.